The message hasn't come up just yet, but I'm assuming yep, it's come up now. So hi everybody and welcome to Monday night, the 30th of March. We still do have another day before we head off into April. I'm not sure when daylight saving ends. Can anybody type into the chat box and help us with that? And in the meantime, Peter's asked a question here saying, what was the form we needed to fill out last week? I couldn't get onto my phone to do it. So I think the form, it's probably the easiest place to access it is probably on the Teams site. And when you're on the Teams site, I think there was a form that came through on the chat box, and that might be the easiest one. I might just type the address back in there again. I'm just little bit reluctant to jump off this screen because it might freeze. So maybe Glenn or someone can have a look at that. It was an online form just to check and get a feedback on how you're all going, operating from home. Not too sure whether I'll be able to find it too quickly there. So I might see if one of the other guys can do it. It's just to really check and see how you're going from home with your lesson and everything. So Glenn, not sure if you can find that back somewhere on the recording. So it's this next weekend, I'm assuming, John. Not my clock's still right, so it must be next weekend. All good. Thank you for that. Well, welcome everybody. We've got a big group tonight, and it's not a really long night tonight. So what we're going to do is, first of all, once again, draw your attention to the big green and red highlight that's at the top of the screen, and above that there's information there for you on the latest information from TAFE New South Wales on the coronavirus. So just generally just check on there and keep an eye on what's happening. And this one came from the 30th of March, which is this afternoon, 4:37. I haven't actually looked at it just yet, so it's only just come on a little while ago. So make sure that you're aware of what's going on. You'll get quite concerned if you read some of that, because it says that classes may not be continuing for you, because it talks about everybody's shut, but we're all good to keep on going because we prepared for it earlier and we're all online anyway. So whatever happens, we shall be able to keep your learning going and keep your assessments going and keep you progressing, so that we should have no interruption, hopefully, to you being able to complete on time as you were originally planning. John's put up a link there, thanks John Bridges, about that form, I'm pretty sure it is, so you can jump on and have a look at that as the night goes on and just chat back to John if you need help with that or if you get stuck. So once again, pretty much what we're going to do tonight is just go through to, I think I had it already set up here, we're on lesson C10. The attendance choice has been opened, and I'm pretty sure everybody's being able to access that. I'll just check if that's working. Looks like we're all good with that. We've got 49 people on. So what I want to do tonight is just, you can see I've showed everything to you tonight, and I want to just go through a couple of things. First thing I want you to do is to type into the chat box, and you'll get a completion for having done this, little completion green box. I want you to type in here, did that come through? No, missed it. I want you to type in here anything that you might be feeling unsure about that you might need help with. So it says here, please tell us about a topic that's important to you and you would like to learn more about this week. That should be fired up now. Looks like it might have another couple of minutes till that opens up, but that'll open up real soon. I might just change the settings on that so you can access that now rather than wait 3 minutes. Open that up now. That's 5 o'clock, I'm pretty sure. Yep, just check that. So you should be able to type into that now and give us your thoughts on as we're going through this evening's shortish lesson. Will give us some feedback on what you would like some help with and where you think, if there's anything there that you feel as though you would benefit from being helped with. Now, I do want to show you one little feature that I've set up for you that I think might be helpful as we're coming to the conclusion of this unit. So I'm going to view it as a student, as you as a student would view this course. And I'm going to go to the overall course and show you what you would see. So as a student, you'll see that tonight we're on fire safety. And I've also shown you tomorrow night, that's Tuesday night's lesson, part of it, and Thursday night's disability commercial lesson as well. So you can see there the last 3 lessons we've got tonight is C10, fire safety. And I've set up for you so that you can see the main headings and you can see the main things we're going to work through tonight. So Joel, was that addressed for me? It says 18th of May instead of March. You could be quite right there. I'm not too sure. Oh, okay. So you might be referring to that activity. I'll just jump back to my normal role here. Just grab the microphone if you need to check with me on that one. Jay, I may have made a mistake on that. Are you referring to this activity, Joel, that I've got it set wrong? Oh, you're quite correct. Sorry. Thank you for that. Sorry, I had that set wrong, and I'll go through a little bit later with that one because it would be good to grab all of your feedback on that. Could I please enlarge my screen? Yes. Thank you very much for that. Good job. There you go. Hopefully that helps a little bit. So there you should be able to see quite a bit more. I know it's a very cluttered screen, but there's not a lot that we're going to be doing online here tonight other than me helping you with some of your activities to try and make sure that you're all concluding successfully at the end of this week. So next week, remember, there's no classes. However, it's a good chance for you to have a bit of a break and make sure you've caught up on everything that you've been doing. Obviously, as teachers, we're going to be flat out trying to get a lot of the other classes and things that are online that need to be online at the moment. So I want to just spend a little bit of time having a look at this and see if anyone's typed in anything into the chat box. Nobody's responded to that just yet. So we'll keep an eye on that one and see how we go. Now, just to spend a little bit of time on what we talked about on Thursday night, we went through the smoke detector activity. And we had a class exercise that was there for you to be able to upload. That was your smoke detector activity. And I gave you some word drawings. This was from last Thursday night. And your job was to locate the smoke alarm locations based on looking at the code. So let's just spend a few minutes having a quick look at this now and see how you've all done with that one. I'll just jump in and see how many people have actually done the submission on that. You should have had we should have quite a few submissions, and then I'll go through. These are all going to need to be marked. So I can see we've got 146 have submitted them. Just please make sure you keep on submitting them as best you know how. If you feel quite unsure about where the smoke detectors go, then now's the time to figure that out and to let us know. There's no more assessments for this unit other than the assignment you were given the other night. So you're all good. Oh, Paul says 7 p.m. rather than 5 p.m. Sorry, guys, thank you for that. That's probably why nobody's participated in it. Let's just change those settings again. Oh, 1700 and what is it now? 1700's 5 o'clock. I think it's 7 o'clock, so that should work. Are we still having troubles with that? With that one working? The chat is closed. Okay, let's see if that works. Okay, that's the 18th of March 2020, which is, it's the 30th of March. Sorry. That's why it's closed. 30th of March 2020, that should fix it up a bit. Just get that set up, so that should work a bit better there now. That was the chat. When you type in there, that should give us, okay. So just mention it in the chat box if you're not sure. Just should all be able to go through that now. Sorry about that. So what I want to do is have a quick look at, just refresh the memory about this, about where the smoke detectors go, and have a look at the locations and positions. And by now you should be feeling reasonably confident navigating your way around the code. And so if we look at section 3 of National Construction Code volume 2, So I'm on volume 2 and I'm on the NCC, and somewhere here I can show you I'm on 2019 code. Okay, and I'm going to go down till I get past section 2, which is just some broad statements about how a building should perform, down to section 3, which talks about how so Declan, is that working now? It's good, Tarek. Thank you for that. So presumably that's working now. So section 3 comes right down till we come to 3.7, and that comes down to fire safety. And the last part of that, 375, goes into smoke alarms. And it's important for us to be able to understand, not that we are going to draw where the smoke alarms go on the set of plans, but we do need to understand where the information comes from for the smoke alarm. So you'll see this part here, part 3, is divided up into a number of different categories. We've got fire properties for materials and construction, fire separation of external walls, fire protection, smoke alarms, and this is us here. Let's just go and have a look. That's pretty much all there is there. So we'll go down to the actual topic. Before we do, have a look at what the subtopics are. There's application, smoke alarm requirements, location for a Class 1A building, locations for a Class 1B building, installation of smoke alarms, and lighting to assist evacuation. So this is 375. This is pretty much how that one should work. So John, sorry about that. We can leave that until a little bit later anyway, if you're not quite sure about that form. Thanks for that, John. Just work on tonight's work, and then we can come back to that one, and Brett will be back on. Brett sent his apologies for tonight. He's flat out setting up some other things, so he'll probably join us a bit later in the week. So the application here tells us some information, and this comes down to what we must do. So it says smoke alarms must be located in Class 1A buildings in accordance with those 2 points there. Okay, and in a class building in accordance with those. We'll go and look at those in a second. In the meantime, there's 4 main things that smoke alarms must. They must be located in certain places. They must also comply with an Australian standard. They must be powered by mains power, and they must be interconnected if there's more than one alarm. Okay, so let's have a look at 3753, where they need to be located, and I'll scroll down slowly so you can see this is just numerically where we're going to. So we had 375, now we're going to point 3, and this is the location, and it says in a Class 1A building, smoke alarms must be located in any story containing bedrooms. Okay, every corridor hallway associated with a bedroom, or if there is no corridor hallway, in an area between the bedrooms and the remainder of the building. And also on each story containing bedrooms. This is all for Class 1A. So here's our Class 1A. Remember, we've got to have in any story containing bedrooms. This one, far as I can see without a big close look, is a single story building. And we've got a bedroom here, a bedroom here, a bedroom here, here. And so there's 4 bedrooms on this one. And it's got to have got to be on any story containing bedrooms and every corridor or hallway associated with a bedroom. So you definitely need one there. I'm just going to insert one here. I'm just going to grab a circle shape. Actually, I'll grab a little call out down the bottom here. They're often the best ones to use. And I'll just put a little bit of wording in there, and I can grab that little point there, and we've got to have one just outside the bedroom, which is operated from right there. We'll bring this back over here, bring this one here. So there's my little smoke alarm there. And if I click on the 4-headed arrow and I go Control-C, Control-V, I'll get myself another one of those little locating boxes. And I can get the 4-headed arrow and put one down here. And this particular case, we need one outside this hallway here, because this hallway services that bedroom and this bedroom. Now, this lounge room services that bedroom there. Oh, that's a funny bedroom. That's kind of not a bedroom, is it? Because that bedroom also has a door that goes in through there. Now, that's interesting how you hang that door. Looks like at that point there, it's got 2 door jambs and 2 doors. We could assume if that's going to be used as a bedroom, then that's going to have that potentially is going to have a smoke alarm outside of it as well, potentially. And the smoke alarm in this case may be positioned out here that might catch the traffic coming in this way and the traffic coming in this way. So let's just make sure we've covered everything here. It's got to be in a Class 1A building. Smoke alarms must be located in any story containing bedrooms, every corridor or hallway associated with a bedroom, or if there's no corridor or hallway, in an area between the bedrooms and the remainder of the building, which is this one here in essence, and this one here potentially. Okay. So hopefully that helps you with your little smoke detector exercise. And I see quite a few people have done some postings there. So we'll get through and check all of those as soon as we can and have a look at those. Let me just post up here for you an example of the answer if you haven't done that yet. So you can see in this particular case, this is a different set of units actually. So this is an example for some units that are 2-story. In this particular case, we've got a smoke detector at the top there on the first floor. That's actually probably ground floor, I think, is it? What's it say down here? That's a ground floor. So we've got the ground floor. There's one here, outside here, one here, and then we go to the first floor, and there's one out sort of centrally near the bedrooms at the top of somewhere at the top of the stairs where the smoke will fill up all of this area in here and set off the detector. So it could be there or it could be out here. These are actually interconnected between this one and the ones downstairs. So they would have to be hardwired. Okay. And that's an example of how the smoke detectors work for the bedrooms there. I'll just keep showing you that one. I think I had that open here. Let's have a look at what other examples they've got there. Here's another example. In this particular case, this is, what's this, a 2-story building? So we've got first floor and ground floor. In this case, for this one, make that a little bit bigger for you so you can see that okay. In this one here, this is the ground floor plan. You walk into the building from, that's a patio, I think. I'm not quite sure where the front is. That might be the front there. And you've got one just outside here which services those bedrooms in that case. And then up here for our first floor, we've got at the top of the stairs. Okay, so we're following the requirements there. And then we've got another plan here. There's a couple of examples of plans and things there, and a couple of examples of where smoke detectors may be required. You can see this is the plan that we gave you the activity for, and there's one out here and there's one in there. Okay, so potentially you may need one there, just depends. Sometimes they put them in as an extra and sometimes not. So that's an example of the smoke detector answer. I want to make that available to you, so I'll show you that and you can access it just so that you can feel confident that you're working along the track of being able to interpret the code to be able to make sure you can determine where things go. Remember, the main people who are going to decide this is going to be the electrician or the person who draws the plans. Usually the plan drawer will place PowerPoints on a drawing, and that's usually the spot where you get that information from as well. So they'll place PowerPoints and also smoke detectors and that type of thing. So I want to just spend a little bit of time showing you some examples of your assignment and spend a few minutes working on the assignment before I open up the quizzes for tonight. So it's not a real long night tonight for you. We need to make sure that you're feeling pretty confident about understanding the codes to be able to get through to the end. So here's one that we had from some time ago. You can see this particular person has chosen a Class 1 building from, looks like Kiama Downs. So they've shown you a picture of the building, which is great. They've put in there their own wording. Just change the wording around that's already on the assignment. Put your own wording in there a little bit, show where you get it from, where you get the classification from. In this case, you've got classifications of the building is shown here over on the bookmarks. You can quickly go to that and you'll figure out that a Class 1 building is your detached house, and that's pretty much what we saw in that picture there in the detached house. Then a little brief explanation of the building. Give us an idea where it's upstairs, downstairs, or what it is. Reference the acceptable construction in the volume. Make sure you've referenced where it comes from and how you construct it acceptably for smoke. alarms, and there's a little bit of wording there on that. And then they've talked a little bit about it, showed us a little bit about 232 fire. This would be from the 2016 NCC. So it talks here about fire detection and early warning. And then we've come down here, does it comply? And it goes through and shows what it states, a little bit of information about that particular building, a little bit more information. Then there's some pictures, and this could be a person's home really, but there's a picture of where it is. You can kind of see where they've placed that. And then you can see that that's an example of compliance. Okay. And then for part 2, they've chosen a car park. This person's chosen a car park in Kiama as well. And so car parks need to meet requirements as well. And this, they've gone through and just answer the questions that are in the assignment that are already set out for you. But do a little bit of an assessment as to what type of smoke and fire prevention equipment is in place. And this person's shown you some examples, and that's typical of a car park, where you can see that they have the red, which denotes fire equipment there. In this particular case, mains, pressure, and possibly automatic sprinklers that go through there. And then there's some of the evidence and things, and you can see there's fire doors, there's fire telephones, there's break the glass type fire notification equipment, and some of those sorts of things. You walk past this type of equipment quite regularly. Okay. So your job's now is just to identify some of it and see and show us in the code why it's there, so that you can find why it's there. And Corey's made the point here, there were other regulations in NCDC 1 for other building types other than 1A and 1B. Actually, NCC Volume 2 and Volume 1 both have a full list of all of the classifications. You can see if I expand this out here, I think it's going to show us all the classifications. So they've placed that in both volumes now. They are in a little bit different place where they put them, but they do have the classifications in both of them. And your job's just to, if I expand that out a tiny bit there, you can see you've still got all the classifications listed in both of them from 1 through to 10. But your job in this assignment is just to focus on just pick 2, one from housing and one from anything else. Okay, so you can see this person's done that. They've done a bit of a walkthrough research, just a little bit of an explanation to understand that you've understood where to get the site visit information from. Okay, so that's an example of the assignment there. Now, I was working on one earlier with one of the students who was on earlier, and we were just going through, and I was just giving an example of something that I could do, because you may not be able to visit a building at the moment, and if we do get locked down, I don't encourage you to go out and leave home, but you can do this all from home. So I haven't spent much time on this other than working with I think it was Alex or Emmett or one of the guys earlier. Pretty much I found a commercial building because we were doing a bit of a search, and we found a building on the block, which I can show you in a second. And I was able to grab a screenshot and say that's where the smoke detector goes. We took a walk through in the middle, and if you want to see the units, then that's where it is. I'll quickly take you and show you to it. I just did a search on Google for 3D view, and we can do either a walk through, or looks like we can do a view dollhouse. I'm not really actually sure what that looks like. Oh, that's interesting. We did a walkthrough and said, well, where's the bedrooms? And so we did this virtual walkthrough just by doing a Google search for, in this case, we ended up with apartments, and we found a bedroom, and we're just looking around to try and find where there might be a smoke detector. And I reckon that's one right there. Okay. So I just took a shot of that. You can take a screenshot just by pushing the PRT SCN button on the top right of your keyboard, or for some Windows, you just push, I think it's Windows Shift S, and that'll do a little screenshot. So you can take a screenshot like I've just done there, and that'll copy it to somewhere, and then you can paste it into wherever you want to put it. So in this particular case, I found that little virtual building. This is a block of units. I'll show you why we reckon it's a class 2 building, because if you look at that, it looks like we're pretty high up. It appeared as though that might have been done on one of the blocks or somewhere. And so it's a multi-story block of units. And so by having a look at it in volume 2 there, we reckoned it probably comes under the category of a volume 2 because volume 2 says a class 2 building is a building containing 2 or more sole occupancy units. And we reckon there was more, probably a lot more. So that hopefully that makes sense. And we were able to look around till we could find an example of where we might be able to find that. Looks like that might even be another smoke detector right there. Potentially, I think that probably is. Yep. And so that's outside one of the doors. So those of you who can't find something like this close by, then you're welcome to do some screenshots of this and do the virtual assignment. So is there anything people need help with any of that? Should be all pretty good with that. You're just going through and answering those questions. We all good? Okay, I think there's, I think we're all pretty right there with that. Just check and see if there's any other questions. I think that's okay. Is it the 30th of March? My computer seems to have frozen here a little bit. I think, Josh, it's the 30th of March today, but I'm not sure. Yeah, my team seems to have frozen on there. I'll come back to that in a second. I think you just do that assignment as soon as you can and get it done. We're really keen for you to get everything done so you can have a week off next week. And then you can have Easter and the week off, and then you'll be ready for estimates when we get started again. So just do all you can to try and get that caught up if you can, so you can be all good to go. All happy? Is my audio coming through? Is anybody else able to hear my audio? So I think that's coming through okay.
All good, Adrian.
All good. Okay, so what I want to do now is open up the quiz for you. And this is the last activity we've got tonight. And there is a little bit of length to this quiz. So I'm just going to grab that in another link in case I've got to answer some other questions. And I'm just going to work through this. So you can all do this now. And I'll zoom this back to 100% so you can see the side of it a bit more. There's 20 activity questions here. Let's not call it a quiz. Let's call it a revision activity. And I'm just going to work my way through them, and just be aware that there may be some which may refer to the old construction code. And so that's probably a good thing. Sometimes you might have to refer back to that, but you might have to adjust some of the working to be able to go through to the current code. I went through most of these, but some of them might have missed it. But you can work through now, and you should be able to navigate your way around so that you're able to figure your way around the code and be able to answer these questions. This first question here deals with flood, and in a second we'll stop the recording, but I'll just show you what I found in here on flood. Can't actually find it at the moment, but here we go. So this is section 2, performance provisions, buildings in flood areas. Let's just jump to that particular point there. And it says a building in a flood hazard area must be designated and constructed to the degree necessary to resist flotation, etc., etc., etc. Now, we don't spend any more time talking about floods in the course other than right now. So I do want to highlight to you that the other night I talked about a designated bushfire area. Well, that exact same council site that lists all the different areas as far as the different planning maps and things like that also has flooding maps. And here's an example from Wagga Wagga, and you can see the flooding map, and you're going to have choices. So different local government authorities have this type of thing, and you have choices to be able to turn on and off all the different flooding areas for the different types of flood that you might encounter. I think I might be on a big zoom here at the moment, so I'll just shrink this back so that I can see a bit more, because on this flooding map here there should be here we go. There's flooding layers here. This is probably quite small for you, and I'm on the Wagga City Council site because we do sometimes have floods, but you can see you can turn on and off various different flood studies. I can in fact, if you look at flood studies, we've got existing levee compared to previous. I think there's the 1 in 100 village models, there's a riverine model, there's a whole heap of different options there that you can turn on. And so you can go to any address and see whether it potentially may be deemed to be a flood area. Okay, and I think I've got on the whole, that's probably got based on the completion of the levee there, levee upgrade. So this is the 1 in 100. I'm not too sure what FPA stands for, but somebody will probably type that in pretty quickly. And you can see what this does is it tells us that at the completion of the levee, Wagga itself should be pretty safe for a 1 in 100. I think I've ticked the 1 in 100 option. If we go back to this one, I think that's fairly similar. There's maybe a little bit of an expansion around here, and because they're doing a big levee at the moment, and you can see all the different examples of how this works. So that's all pretty good. That's pretty much where we can get our flooding information from. So when you come back to the quiz, yes, the questions may all be jumbled. Sorry about that. I can possibly stop that now so that you can, but if you've attempted the quiz, it's probably not going to change it. So how about we just leave it how it is? You go through and do them as best you can. You can chat online against other ones. I think I can't change it now because you've all jumped into it. If I edit the quiz, I might be able to make a little change there. Turn off the shuffle button. No, because you've already jumped into it. So that's all good. There's 20 questions there, but you should be able to find your way around this quite well now. And if you're not quite sure, just click on some of the, sorry, I should have turned that jumbling off earlier. So just work your way around, use it as a little bit of a challenge, chat back amongst yourselves, jump on the phone, jump on the Skype thing. You can Skype, you can contact each other on this system if you want to directly. Just jump over onto the chat box on the left and that'll do a private chat to them. If you click on the participants and where you see a person's name there, you can click on the three buttons. Maybe, I don't know, sometimes you can chat to that participant individually. Looks like that's not a function that's there for you just now. So just work them in amongst yourselves and use it as a collaborative learning thing. And I'll just work my way through them and access it like that. I can, if you all jump off, I can delete this one and set up another one real quickly. And then you can all have the same quiz.